many of you were dancing around then, or was it just me? So this is always the really somber part where I turn the music off because I've just been hyping myself up for a little while. But I think I am probably going to entertain you guys. I'm just going to switch the video on. The reason why I'm going to entertain you guys is because I've not got my glasses on. It's all gone to pot already. I'm actually going to try and go live on Facebook at the same time. So you guys can tell me if this works or not, and I may make myself look really silly, but do you know what? We won't learn, and who knows? So let's have a little look and see if this works out. Just for anybody that's forgotten to register, shiny forehead, and anybody that obviously wants to get involved with this as well. So let's see if this works. Doing everything it's told me to do. There we go. This is what happens when you go live. So how are you all this evening? Have you had a good, fun Monday? I hope you have. Let's have a little look who we've got on here. So tell me where you're from, what you do, because I know there may be different people on here as well, which is good. So if you want to drop me a message on chat and let me know, that will be fantastic. I'm going to share this in the group. So if any of you guys on this here is working in aesthetics, then you can always join in the healthcare professional group as well. For those of you guys that don't know me, my name is Annette Matthews and I am a dental hygienist and therapist for my sins, amongst other things. At the moment, I feel like a motivator of sorts, and I, up until about 10 days ago, I was sat crying into my cornflakes. And just thought, let's add a title. What should we call this? Literally going completely ad hoc here. You guys can probably see this too. So let's call it Mrs. Motivator. So this is how I roll, literally off the seat of my pants here, guys. You can see that live. And that should. There we go. So let's see if that works. No idea, but we'll get back to the screen share and so you guys can focus on the webinar that we've got in hand. The reason I'm practicing this a little bit is because Skin C, who I do work with, the charity, I want to maybe go live with them next time that we do a webinar. So I have actually no idea. Oh no, it says I'm live. This is where I make myself look silly because I didn't know I was live. But here we are. So let's carry on and hopefully they'll see the right screen. If anybody's got access, please let me know. So this is like, this could go one of two ways, one of three ways. So who we got here? We've got somebody from Spain. Wow, that's amazing. Welcome, Jane. You were in the Masqued meeting last night, so that's fantastic. So you are a glutton for punishment then, because you're back again for the second time running, 2 days in a row. Let's see if you make next week as well. But that's great. Thank you so much for your support. We've got Alison on here as well. She's a fellow dental hygienist. So Jane, what is it that you do? Maybe you can just drop me a message and let me know what it is that you do. Jocelyn here as well, saying hello. That's fantastic. So really, really nice to get some feedback from you guys as we're going along, because I like to make it quite interactive too. Let's have a look. Somebody's raised a hand too. Oh, we've got Karen in here as well. Fabulous. Okay, I'll try not to get too distracted by the chat here. Hopefully you can all see and hear me, so that's always a good start. Okay, Jane, you run a training academy in the UK and Spain to open a retreat, spa and training academy. That's amazing, Jane. Well done. That sounds fantastic. I will come and see you when all this is over. Really can't wait for that. It'd be really, really nice to meet you in person. But anyway, so what I'm going to talk about for the next, I'm not going to keep you too long. You might have to get tea on. My attempt at homeschooling today and Friday literally went completely wrong. I don't know how you guys are finding it. I've taught my daughter today the anatomy of the hand and the fingernail, because we were talking about, of all things, skin cancer underneath the nail bed as well, that you can get from the webinar that I did last night. So really, really random. She's learning some very random stuff. Last week we did the lungs. We were learning about how that affects with the coronavirus. So I'm trying to make the learning quite fun for her. I'm not being too intense with it. But obviously there's lots of guys out there doing fantastic jobs. So where we're going to go for this evening is we're going to just focus on a little bit of motivation. Again, 2 weeks ago, I was crying into my cornflakes, and that's not a word of a lie. You guys who know me always kind of see me smiling, happy, go lucky. I pretty much, like to think of myself as that. But when all this kicked off, it's took me a good 2 weeks, and I still have good days where I wake up and bad days where I wake up, but a good 2 weeks to finally try, almost, none of us have, get our head around what's going on, and ultimately that's why I wanted to kind of come together with you guys, people who I may have not have met as well that might be suffering, and in silence, again, you know, if you're normally quite happy-go-lucky and you kind of, you know, you don't know who to turn to for help, then I'm here. Okay, so there's a few tips at the end of this as well, which I want you guys to follow, but let's make a start. Okay, so I know, please don't roll your eyes. SWOT analysis. I did warn you guys on the snippets on my story that it was going to be a little bit about this. Now, I've been to sales meetings. I used to work, when I was a dental hygienist and therapist, I had a car crash, well, actually 2 in a month, and it took me out of clinic. So I had to work, or I chose to work, in a sales environment. Now, SWOT and things like that were very much thrown, not down our throats, but pretty much were. So it was a lot of the time we were forced to do things to involve SWOT analysis. And until this morning, a bit of a confession now, I thought SWOT and SWOT were the same thing. So the police officers, which someone in my family is actually a police officer too, so it's quite embarrassing, but I thought they were the same thing. But there we go, that's the blonde hair coming through there, but I'm being honest. So, but what we're talking about here is a way to kind of take this and see it as a project. And I know it's a very, very sensitive subject, and not everybody is ready for doing that just yet, and I completely get that. If you want to sign off and you're not interested in anything more that I have to say, I completely understand, but it's the only way I've managed to get my head around this, being a business owner and someone who obviously is reliant on being in a public facing role. So ultimately this SWOT, Project Corona I call it, I've actually set up a little journal. I hide this from my husband because he just starts to read things. It's a bit weird that I start and talk myself through things that I'm doing, but it's all in here. And I'm going to sell this when I'm about 60, or it's going to be in a museum somewhere in like a glass dome. Can you imagine, with a little rose at the side? Yeah, that's Beauty and the Beast there coming out. But ultimately, that's where I've started writing my project in here. So Project Corona is in here, and it's going to be under lock and key. Okay, but I want to share it with you guys because it has helped me get my head around this. In addition to that, you guys that have maybe been on webinars with me before, this is a book that I turn to quite a lot. Okay, I know it's a bit of a cliche, and if there's any guys on here, then I'm sorry, but ultimately, in any environment, you know, being a girl sometimes can be tough, and I find that books like this can be quite empowering, and this is, again, I've turned back to this, even though I've read it before multiple times. I've turned back to it at this moment because I feel like I need it. So get yourself one of this. It's on Amazon or eBay. You can obviously order it online at the moment, and it's not too expensive either. And the author's really, really fantastic. She's done a series of books, but that's one of my favorites. So anyway, on to Project Corona in my green bag. So my step daughter brought me this for my birthday, and when I first saw it last year, I was like, okay. But I've come to terms with writing things down, and it has actually really helped me. So I would recommend it to you guys, even though you think it may be a bit of a cliche. So I spent some time last week creating a bit of word art with how I felt. So you can see some of my words in there. And what I want you guys to do is to go away this week and maybe do the same. So a bit of homework for you, a bit of home teaching going on here, without you even realising it's subliminal. But ultimately, I'm missing that human interaction more than anything. I mean, the only person I get to interact with, and this sounds dodgy, but you know, it's people who you're isolating with, and some people don't have anybody either. So write your feelings down, because sometimes that helps. It's helped me with the Journal of Death here that I've started writing now, but ultimately it really has. So do get into that and have a little look at, you can just go onto the internet, type in word art graphic, and it's free to do. And I've done this, and I'm going to do another one next week, and we're going to bring that into the webinar, and we're going to see how it changes. So as obviously what develops on a day-to-day basis, an hourly basis at the minute, in terms of where we're going with this, and how as the public we're supposed to deal with it, then your feelings will change too. And some days they may be absolutely horrendous, and then the week after that you may start to be feeling better and dealing with it in a different way. So word art is really, really helpful for that. And again, you can build a bit of a portfolio. You can get your kids to do it too, so it does help. I've got my little girl doing one at the minute, because obviously it is important that we think about our emotions and how we're feeling. I'm not qualified in this subject, but I do know that kids will be suffering. All of us are suffering, for goodness sake. But getting it down on paper and doing something like this, it's quite visual, personally helps me, because that's obviously my learning style. It's not for everybody. If not, writing lists or whatever it is that works for you, but this worked for me. So you may want to give it a go. Okay, so hopefully you can see what I've done here. It's good to see that there's most of you still on here, so that's good. Goodness knows how the live thing's going. Don't even look. But ultimately, we're going to start with, so back to that SWOT analysis, and we're starting with strengths, okay? So I want you to think out of this shitty, god-awful situation that is going on. I'm sorry to swear, but that's what it is. And what strengths can we take out of that, okay? Collaboration. Look at how I've spot this out here. Organisation, resilience, opening doors, negotiation, and availability. Okay, so it spells corona. So we've used it against it, if that makes sense. So yes, we may be stuck indoors, we may be key workers and having to go into work and doing our bit to save lives ultimately and keep people alive. I know there's a massive amount of people out there that are volunteering and doing things above and beyond their station too, okay? But that falls into collaboration, no? I'm working with the skin charity. You guys who know me know that I'm doing that already, and that's all about collaboration. So you will find someone near you, or a company near you, or somebody near you that may be struggling. I'm collaborating with you guys now. You're collaborating with me ultimately, because we're bringing this together to make sense of it all. And that's something that you can do. Again, it sounds like a bit of a cliche, but have a little think about your strengths and what you can do to collaborate information or guidance for yourself in this situation as it is at the moment. I'm also using this time to get organised. I know you guys who may have seen my posts already, my QuickBooks, my accountant was ready for hanging me himself from the rafters. Ultimately, my QuickBooks had 1,084 notifications on it for my accounts that I hadn't done. There's nothing on there now. How good does that feel? I can't even tell you. My inbox is I'm working on, but ultimately, all these red dots, the practice manager where I used to work, Jen, she always used to go on at me like, Annette, I can't even, it gives me anxiety just looking at your phone. There's so many red dots on there. But I am using this time to get organised, and you guys can do the same too. I've seen some of you were on the business webinar this morning with Galderma, which is amazing. That's really, really good. So you're using this time to collaborate and to organise, to actually make a difference to how you're going to come out of the other side, because it will end and we will come out the other side, but how are we going to come out? We're going to come out more resilient for sure, but what we can also do is use the time to build resilience as well and open doors. So by building resilience, again, 2 weeks ago, crying into my cornflakes compared to now, what's the difference? It's mindset. I've built resilience around the subject that's going on. You know, I still have bad days. I still wake up and think, what's the point of me doing this? The point is that, you know, there's some of you guys logged on this evening. Who knows who's laughing at me on live at the moment? But ultimately, that's the point. So we're building resilience between us. And we're also building resilience as a nation, as a world, against this god-awful virus as well. So ultimately, that's what's happening. So you can utilise that to your advantage too. And opening doors. So this is a really good time for those good people to shine. And it's a really good time for you to see through the cracks and see who is in it for themselves as well. Now, even if there was one person logged on tonight, if there was nobody logged on tonight, I'd still be doing this webinar. Why? Because I've done this to kind of keep myself busy. And you guys who know me, I'm used to being all over the UK, training and busy with clients and delegates, and this is absolutely killing me, as it is most of us. But ultimately, what I found from doing this is that it's opened doors in other areas. So in a digital aspect, so I used to hate seeing myself on a video, and I still do. It's really, really small in the corner there, and I wear my glasses to hide behind, even though I do need them a little bit to see. But ultimately, I'm opening doors and I'm doing more video content. I'm doing the things, I'm pulling myself out of my comfort zone. You guys doing business webinars and learning how to kind of run your business. I was doing a webinar the other day on coding, for goodness sake. So I'm building an app at the moment, and for my sins, no idea what I'm doing, never done anything like that in my life, but it's something that I've always wanted to do. And obviously the strength of this situation from that SWOT analysis means it's given me time to do it. Okay, so we've got here, we're moving on a little bit from negotiation there to availability. So we've got most of us, obviously some of us are looking at doing voluntary work, which is amazing too, but we've also got a lot of time available on our hands as well, and we can negotiate that time with the people that we open doors with, and with building resilience and being organised and collaborating with others. So hopefully you can see where I was going with all of that as well, and it makes a little bit more sense. So we're over to the weaknesses part of a SWOT analysis. Now, who's had a job interview or a application form, and you're asked to kind of tell them what your weaknesses are? You always used to think, oh, hang on a minute, if I say that, it's going to look this. If I say this, it's going to look that. But with what's going on right now, there are set weaknesses, and these are the ones for me that I've put out there, and maybe some of you guys can familiarize yourself with these. We've got fear, okay? Again, most mornings I wake up and thinking, what's going to happen today? Or what's going to happen at that announcement? I've seen the meme the other day about looking forward to the announcement like it was Love Island. I never used to watch Love Island, but ultimately we are all waiting to hear on Boris's next word. Even my daughter knows the name of the Prime Minister now. You know, the way the nation has changed completely, the world has changed completely. But ultimately, there's an element of fear because we don't know what's happening next. We're looking at job loss, we're thinking about job loss, we're overthinking about job loss, and that is naturally going to happen. But again, it's going to create a weakness in that SWOT analysis of what it is that's going on. We're going to build up anxiety. Now, I've never ever been anxious, but my husband will tell you about 2 weeks ago, I went through a really, really low point for myself because I just didn't see an end to it, and I still don't. There is still no end to this. We don't know when it's going to end, and my anxiety levels were through the roof. But ultimately, my SWOT analysis of what's going on and what I'm doing with you guys now will hopefully help you with that too, if that's something that you're struggling with, because it is very real. And you know, it's bad to maybe put it down as a weakness, but it is a weakness. But we can use that anxiety to build on our strengths and actually make this an opportunity instead. So distancing ourselves as well, that's, you know, social distancing, that is the worst wording possible for what it is that we've got going on. I'm going out for a run. You guys may have seen, it's a rest day today, but I'm going to go a bit of a walk later on. I'm training for a half marathon because I used to be an avid runner, and I'm using this time that I've now got available to do more running. You're welcome to join me. Not obviously physically, but you know what I'm saying about the, you know, supporting each other behind closed doors. But this social distancing, that word in particular, really grates on me. And it's quite horrible when you're running around the streets, and I get it, we've got to leave this 2 meter distance. But when I'm like miles away down the street, the next person who I can see is crossing the road way before I've got to them. You start to kind of think, yes, we know what's going on, but psychologically that makes me think, God, you know, someone's avoiding you because you may be carrying this. And that is ultimately a real psychological hit. For me personally, it was, and it is. And I don't know if you guys are finding the same, but that really did start to affect me in the beginning. Not so much now. I'm the person that crosses the road because I've made a point of being that person in control over that situation. And that sounds really, really strange and may do to some of you. or maybe you guys might be agreeing or disagreeing with me. I don't really know. I'm just talking to myself right now. But ultimately, that's, you know, I prefer physical distancing. I think that's a lot better term, but obviously it is social distancing. That's how it's kind of come across. But what we need to do is physically distance ourselves, not socially. You guys that maybe are personal friends with me on Facebook saw the house party that I had at the weekend via the Messenger app. So there was like 70 people, well, they're not that many, I've not got that many friends, but we were having a party via like an online link on a Messenger app, and it was brilliant. You know, the first time I looked at my watch, it was like 5 o'clock. I looked later on, it was like 11:30 at night, and we'd have a giggle and a laugh, we'd played games. But we'd still done this social distancing. So, you know, it's not all about that, but it can tie you down and become that weakness of that SWOT analysis. I'm digressing, I know, but I'm good at that. We need some direction. I don't know about you guys, but when something's going on, I like to know exactly what's happening next. And ultimately, that's really difficult in this situation. And I've seen posts and I've seen people asking what's going on and what's going to happen next. I'm a daddy's girl, and I used to kind of text my dad and say, right, Dad, what's going to happen next? Or, you know, even start bothering my husband with it and saying, Craig, what's happening next? And what do we do now? But none of us know. That's the thing. And that probably makes it, you know, harder to get past that point. But this is where you can use your SWOT analysis to build your own direction and build where you want to go with things. Patience is a virtue, and obviously having patience in this sort of situation is crucial. I've been on a short fuse with my daughter a few times in the last couple of weeks. It might be homeschooling, the fact that I can't drink gin until about 5 o'clock, and that's a personal rule that I've set, but ultimately that is because of my own mental health too, which we're all entitled to have these moments where things aren't going right, and that doesn't make you weak. But obviously what we need to try and do is re-strengthen those infrastructures to prevent it from getting any worse. And that's part and parcel why you guys are hopefully here today, because you don't realize it, but you being on this webinar tonight is actually keeping me going, even though I might be saying a couple of things, not everything, because I do waffle, but some of the things I'm saying to you may ring true as well. So we're helping each other, and we are collaborating, much like that first slide. Let me see whose message, because I've had a couple flash up and I want to make sure that everything is okay for you guys. So are you all enjoying yourself, or are you fed up of listening to me waffle? Oh, Alison, do you know what? You've just hit the nail on the head. One word I hate at the minute is unprecedented. Me too. Unprecedented and uncertain. So I am not going to say them for the rest of the webinar. How's that? And I brought this up last night. Jane will second that. She was on the webinar last night, and I talked about unprecedented and uncertain being in the media quite a lot at the minute. And I never even knew those words existed so much, because they're just being said all the time. So ultimately, you know, we're not going to say those tonight. And I completely agree, Alison, absolutely. So back to that SWOT analysis, we've talked about strengths, which we can reflect on at the end. We've talked about weaknesses. We're now going to look at opportunities as well. And at this moment in time, our main opportunity is the fact that we have time on our side. And I know that doesn't go for everybody, because some of you guys are going out to do your voluntary work, but ultimately I think the majority of us, it's safe to say we have a lot more time on our side than what we had before. And at first I hated it, but now I'm kind of like finding things to fill the day. There was a post on the society page this morning, the BSDHT, about routine. And ultimately that's exactly what I've tried to do. So for this week in particular, I've set like the homeschooling timetable for my daughter, which is not great at sticking out. We'll get there with that one, but we've also set my own schedule too. So I had a webinar this morning, I had a few bits and bobs to do this afternoon. Yes, I went to my clinic to pick up mail, but also gave myself a little bit of a manicure to make myself feel better with a nice bright colour, because psychologically that's what I needed at this time. And I'm using this time to grow my skill set as well. So there's so many online courses and things that I want to do. Just be careful with online courses, because Anything that's practical and hands-on, you may struggle with. I wouldn't personally do them online, but anything kind of mentoring, coaching, business related is so easy to do and offset online. There's going to be a few that I'm going to recommend a little bit later on, but anything that's kind of hands-on and practical, which a lot of you guys that are listening may be looking for, I would steer clear with an online course, because obviously we always need that practical element to make the insurance work. So that's my opinion on that one. But I'm growing my skill set. I've just started a level 4 online laser course, and then obviously once all this lockdown and everything's off, then I will, that's another word, I hate lockdown, but once all this is set to normal, then I will be sorry guys, that was just the phone ringing. Once this is set to normal, I will ultimately be doing, my proper practical laser qualification afterwards as well. So I'm getting the upper hand in all this time, and that's what you guys can do as well. So you can pick up and create that personal development plan, use time that's on your side and improve your skill set for your patients, your clients, whoever it is, and or for yourself. So if you guys, anybody that's listening doesn't have a current career or job role at the moment, then that you've got this time to kind of investigate and look at these things that you may want to do and utilize in the future as well. Okay, so we're going to look at threats, because again, that's part of that SWOT analysis. She rolls her eyes. I can't believe I'm actually talking about this, because again, like I said at the beginning, SWOT analysis, I can remember being in conference meetings and being told we're doing a SWOT analysis. I'm like, what is going on? And now I'm here talking about them, but hey, that's how things are at the minute. Pretty insane. Threats are economics. I mean, come on, with the climate the way that it is at the moment, and the stress and the anxiety levels and the amount of change, we're literally facing every single threat possible at the minute. You don't need me to sit here and go through everyone individually, but think about that first slide that I showed you with the strengths that you've got. So obviously in the economic time that we have, we can use it to collaborate, to build networks and to negotiate. In the climate that we're in at the minute, we can use it to strengthen our ability to work together or to do things together. Stress is a big one, and I'm going to come on to some tips at the end of what I've done to help with that, and anxiety. And change is something that we're all going to have to do. And, hearing it on the radio today that things, it could be like this for 6 months, and then it's still not going to be the same as you heard on the radio earlier. But that's the truth ultimately. So how can we adapt our businesses, our mindset, our psychological well-being to everything that's going on? I have a few tips to hopefully help with that moving forward, as you'll see a little bit later on. But the main thing is, and I know it's a cliche, but just staying positive and creating small little goals and small little targets has been the best way of me moving forward with all of this personally as well, along with gin, ultimate, and fresh air when we can. But ultimately, this is a really, really anxious time for all of us. I'm here for any of you guys if you need a shoulder to cry on, or someone to shout at, or someone to vent at anytime, then you guys can find me for that too. But these are threats for this SWOT analysis. So in an ideal situation, we've not got every single one of these hitting us, but what we can do is work at them. So you know what, this change aspect, we need the change to create that availability for time, to create the ability to upskill and improve our skill set. And we need all of that in order for the strengths to come apart of what we're trying to achieve. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does, and I'm not completely waffling. Now, I put this slide on, and anyone that's not seen the film is probably thinking, what is she talking about? But who has seen the film? Let's have a show of hands before I start waffling about the film. I want to know who's seen the film. Let's have a little look. Who's seen there's a few raised hands. Fabulous. So you've seen the film. So this film is The Wolf of Wall Street. Okay, fantastic. Jane's seen it as well. Fabulous. So thank you for that, guys. It's nice to know you're still here as well. But ultimately, this film is this is the first part of the film before Leonardo DiCaprio turns all absolutely mental and creates his huge company, which all you guys are going to go and do after this. If you've not got one already, you're going to grow from this, hopefully. That makes me the guy that's going to bang on the chest, but I'm not going to do that. That's not going to happen. Maybe if it was about 8 o'clock, but not at this time. But ultimately, what's happening here is he's having a talking to, and someone's just giving him that advice and giving him clarity on where he wants to go next. And if you haven't seen the film, then please watch it, not with the kids. But ultimately, what I like about the film is the fact that this guy, Leo DiCaprio, thinks outside the box, and at this point in time, that's what we all need to be doing to get through this. So you need to think how your business, how what you know works, but how else can you make it work? How else can we survive through this ultimately? And that's why I like this film. So I watched this last weekend, and again, it flips me round from the way I was thinking, that doom and gloom approach. Because you know, the world has gone through various amounts of changes, and climate changes and economical changes. My mum knew this was coming. She had a Brexit cupboard. It's now switched to obviously the COVID cupboard, and she literally knew all this was coming. And when she sent me the messages, I'd be like, Mum, just give it over. But she was so right, because the world's been through this before and it's come out the other side. So have a little watch of this film. You may or may not like it, but ultimately it does kind of fuel me with the fact that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And you know, I would love to kind of keep you guys going. So I'm doing this once a week. It's not just going to be me every week being boring. There is going to be other people who I'm trying to get involved in this webinar as well, some of which I think are on right now, but I want to kind of make this more diverse, different subjects. I don't sit here and profess to know everything about everything. I will be sending an email out tomorrow because I want to know what you want to know as well, and I will find us speakers that can talk to us about that as well, because I think it's really, really important to keep connected at this time. But this scene is where he's asking the guy to sell a pen. And can you imagine kind of trying to get out there in the climate that we're in at the minute and trying to sell a pen? It must be like the hardest thing possible. And I completely agree with, you know, trying to sell things at the minute can be quite distasteful. But ultimately, there is going to be something at the end of this. And by retaining these ethical values and thinking about how you can sell things, which I'm going to come on to a little bit later on, in relation to the business that I'm in, and I've been doing it, and it didn't feel right at first, but it is actually helping things along the way now, because we've got to kind of hopefully create and build. I mean, can you imagine what it's going to be like after this? We're going to have no problem selling our services ultimately, but it's just this gap. But see my tips at the end and you'll know what I mean about selling the pen. But have a look at the Wolf of Wall Street film. I really would recommend it. Another thing, I saw this on a webinar this morning. So I did the business webinar with Gal Dermot, and they talked about having your unique selling point, so USP. And I have to agree. So, you know, it took me a while. I was the Midlands dental therapist. I was having to dig around at what it is I wanted to do and achieve. But what I know at the end of it is you've now got all this time and availability and these opportunities to create your own unique selling point, and ultimately grow your brand, grow your profession, grow your mindset, grow your skills, grow everything in this opportunity that we have. So for me, it was the fact that I love anything to do with skin, and any patients that came in to see me, if there was a challenging skin type or a situation that was going on, I'd really want to get my teeth into it and know more. I absolutely love the dental aspect of my job as well. And I love kind of signposting people to success, like I hope I'm doing with you guys this evening, and just kind of guiding you through a little bit with what's helped me over the last few weeks as well. So ultimately, that's my unique selling point, the fact that I combine the things together. We can all do that. There's a post that went out the other week on various hygienists and therapists or professionals that have different interests as well. There's so many different diverse paths that our guys can go down. I've got friends that dental nurses that do reflexology, looking into beauty treatments as well. Because ultimately, whenever we're with a patient or a client or whoever it is that's come to see us, we do have this window of opportunity. And that, again, is something that I talk about quite a lot, but it makes sense to me. So that's why I do. It will end, okay? So there's my little happy place. I've been there today, had a good clean around and sterilised everything and just kind of wandered around aimlessly. But ultimately, it's really sad times at the moment, but it's not going to last forever. What I found helpful is looking through my albums and kind of putting everything in folders. I've not finished yet, but that is another list on my job list to do, and going through and kind of putting everything in albums, all my before and after pictures, everything, all the things that I never had time to do. So when this is coming to an end and the appropriate time to market is there for those sort of things, then I can be ready with the post to get out there. But it will end, so you've just got to keep hanging on and come in to see me every Monday and let's get through it. So screw the norm. You know, we're not in the norm right now. What is the norm anymore? You know, what is the norm going to be when we're out of this? I talked to you about online courses. These are a couple that I found that I've started. How to plan your career path. So if anybody's listening who maybe doesn't have a business but really wants one, you don't. No, ultimately, if you're wanting to build that career path, you've already got a career, you don't know where to go next with the sort of things that you're interested in, this is a really nice little course to do. It's a couple of hours. And then generating actionable business ideas. So hopefully some of you guys that's listening this evening will have already done that from what I've been waffling on about, but you've got a course here that makes you think outside the box a little bit, all completely free. And I would recommend having a little look at these and having a go at them too. We need to adapt at this point. Adaptation is survival, okay? And that's the ultimate truth for anything. I'm just going to have a little drink, just bear with me. Have you all got a drink? I hope you have. Bit of a dry mouth there. So yes, that was a nice rose gold glass there that I've served myself, ready for the webinar. But we need to adapt to survive. It's human instinct. If we don't adapt, then obviously it will get the better of us and all those weaknesses will creep in. So it is very difficult for me, who used to sit there on a Sunday night and think, oh, I've got to set my alarm for tomorrow, okay? But who's been thinking that recently? I thought about that the other day, and I would love to have that thought about setting my alarm for the next day. And I still have been doing, granted not as early, but I am still trying to create that routine, and I've adapted almost to survive. When I was in my worst place, there was no alarm set, there was no focus for the next day. I was literally wandering around in my pajamas like an absolute grump. So we need to adapt to survive to the situation that's going on. Even, you know, I put Radio 1 on today. They've adapted. They've changed the times that someone's on because obviously they don't want too many people in the building at once. They've had to adapt. So every single one of us is adapting. So think about how you can adapt to this as well and move forward with that. So here I am talking about masthead again, a bit of a poor quality image, so apologies for that. But we have online learning on our side, and obviously just be mindful of what you're searching for. Anything with a practical element I would steer clear of, but anything else in terms of informative and information, crack on and do it. Now is the time to plan your personal development plan. So even if you guys aren't in the industry that I'm in, whatever industry you're in, you need a personal development plan to think about where you want to go next and what you want to do and how you are going to behave and change and act at the end of this, and also evolve. So plan that personal development plan, and you know, ultimately you'll grow with that at the same time. So next Monday, here's your homework, guys. We're going to obviously have a look at your word art that I talked about right at the beginning. So I want you to do me some word art and maybe email it me over, and I might feature it in the webinar this time next week. In fact, next week I was going to do it at 10 a.m. because it just fits in with my schedule a little bit better. You know, my diary that's absolutely stacked right now, not. But I figured in a morning we can get a cup of tea, cup of coffee, and sit together and just kind of work through what we're going to do that week, and that might work a little bit better. So next Monday we want to look at your word art. Even if you're not in my industry, if you're not in skin, if you're not in teeth, I still want to see what words are going through, you know, your mind at this time, because I want to help with that too. It doesn't matter what industry we're in at this point. We are collaborating together, and that's what's important to me. But I'm going to be covering stress and skin. So you guys that are in the same industry as me, not just stress and skin, we're going to cover other things as well, but ultimately this is going to be the tail end of the webinar next week that I plan. And I've noticed a huge change in my skin, especially a couple of weeks ago. I started getting spots again, and it was getting quite oily skin. I mean, you can probably see here, my skin is quite oily, and I have noticed a change in my skin with everything that's going on as well. So we'll touch on that. I am also going to introduce you guys to this little friend who I've got a video, and I'm going to shoot my own video as well. That'd be hilarious. But this is a lymph roller, jade roller, and it's been really, really good. So if you guys want to order one of these, they're just on Amazon. And again, I recommend these to my clients too, or I have been doing. And I would recommend getting one of these, and we can maybe have a chat about what to do with this next week. And we can go from there. So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next week, to seeing how you've adapted over the next week as well. That would be really interesting. Just a few survival tips to finish. This was at the end of the MaskEd accreditation that webinar that I did last night, and I got some good feedback. I stole this from another webinar that I watched Sunday, and it was a one by Delivering Demand. So they have a social media clinic, and I logged into their webinar, which was really, really informative and great. But what I learned is that crisis and opportunity has the same word, it is the same word in Chinese. That's probably going to be my next tattoo. No, it's not. My dad will kill me. But ultimately, I mean, how weird is that? We can use this crisis as an opportunity. And I know you're all going to be going through different phases, and it may be right for one of you to think that, right, okay, yeah, I'm going to take the bull by the horns and this is what I'm going to do. Or you're still in that phase that I was in a couple of weeks ago, and I probably will get in that again in another week's time. But ultimately, we can use this to optimize and, you know, reflect on what we want to change. So I thought that was a really good pointer. Top tip number one is to get online and do some online training. So not just your MaskEd training. If you've not done that though, just go and do it. No excuses now. I'm not interested in any excuses you've got. I want to see your certificates, so send them over to me. Don't forget to send me your word art. I look forward to seeing that as well. Share your certificate, share with your peers and your colleagues to raise awareness. So if you're doing online courses, if you are doing something that is building your brand, building your skill mix, building your knowledge base, share that with your clients, your delegates, your patients, your practices, the general public. So people want to see positivity right now, and if you're building on your skill set, then that is certainly positivity. There are so many free or ridiculously cheap courses out there at the minute. I can obviously give you a few that I've found that I've been doing. You've seen the two on there. I'm doing level 4 skin and laser. It was like £45. It's a fully accredited certificate. So there are things out there at the moment. I'm in the group Healthcare Professionals Working in Skincare. By all means, post your business page, link and name. If you're happy for me to share emails, then I can do that. But sharing each other's businesses is a really good way of coming out of this with more followers, more likes, more interaction, and obviously getting each other through this ultimately to the end. Now, exercise daily. I've not been a run today because it is a rest day. I spoke about it earlier. I downloaded a half marathon training program 2 weeks ago and started it last week. I used to run a lot, but obviously when I set up my clinic, it kind of got knocked on the head a little bit, so I couldn't do it as much. but I cannot even begin to tell you guys how much exercising daily has had a massive impact on my own psychological and mental well-being. So take pictures of the fact that you're out there. You know, it doesn't have to be a half marathon that you're doing. You could do whatever is comfortable for you. And obviously, you know, tag me in it. I'm more than happy to kind of be there with you. But this is the damn ultimate time to actually get fit while we've got all this time on our hands as well. So create that as part of your SWOT analysis as well. So what was holding you back from getting fit before? X, Y, and Z. So you can create, and I know I hate SWOT analysis, but they are actually really useful. So you can bring exercise into your regime with one of those as well. This is a big one, and I know it's really hard at the minute, but again, this was something that I was finding and struggling to do, but the social media webinar that I was on at the weekend kind of backed up what I'd been doing. But ultimately, posting daily to interact with your clients, your customers, your delegates, the patients, the public, your practice, and anybody that's listening, because everybody at the moment is scrolling and looking for inspiration. Okay, so they may not have the spending power or the mind power to think about what they want to do with that right now. But you're laying down those subliminal messages, and I know it's difficult to think about what to post. Make sure it's informative, it's friendly, make it personable, in my opinion. So make it, you know, I did a post at the weekend about me going out for a run and wearing my SPF, and that's, I think, where the next one comes in. So those of you in skincare or dentistry even, think about selling those online essentials like your sun protection and your antioxidants, because although we're having to kind of rein in our spend everywhere else at the minute for those of us that aren't working, these are essentials ultimately to keep ourselves healthy. So even oral health products and things like that are becoming, you know, we need them to stay healthy. And as experts, we can utilize our knowledge to make sure that people are getting ripped off and they're buying the right things ultimately. And that can reflect, you know, from your recommendations as well. We're on the last slide, so I'm not sure if anyone's, you're all still listening, that's good, or you might not be listening, but you're all still there. Optimize and prioritize. So we optimize this time and we prioritize it too. So, you know, we've still got to make time for homeschooling. I've got a few notes down here. You know, we've got to make time and prioritize our own mental health levels, our anxiety levels, how we're feeling about certain situations, and optimizing the time that we have at home with our family, the fact that we are isolated, and it can be quite difficult ultimately to focus. I don't know about you guys, but I'm better this week, but last week I had the attention span of a gnat. So I'd like sit down to do something, I'd be typing away, and then I'd go, I'm gone. 10 minutes later, I realise that I'm staring out the window. What is happening? I have never been like that. And ultimately that is, you know, it is our bodies dealing with what's going on. So don't be too hard on yourselves at this point. It's great that you've connected this evening. And again, you've helped me by doing that, because it's really nice the fact that I've had someone to kind of talk through what's helped me. Whether it will help you or not, I don't know. Hopefully it will. I look forward to hopefully seeing some of you guys next week to discuss obviously stress and skin and the effects it has on the skin, and how you can kind of talk to your clients and patients about that too. Thinking about this SWOT analysis, so I you know, please do get in touch if you've SWOT analysed something and it's worked for you. Guest webinars, I'm always looking for new speakers, so if anybody wants to kind of come in and have a chat alongside me, we can do like a dual screen. You don't have to have the camera if you're not comfortable with that, but it's better than listening to me every week. And ultimately always looking for new people to help inspire you guys and move forward. So thank you for your time this evening. I've got a fake Donald's for tea. I voice messaged my husband earlier, me and my daughter did, because we fancied a McDonald's, and I think it's mindset because it's short. It's rest day, it's cheat day, and I really wanted a McDonald's. So his task this evening was to create a fake Donald's. So we'll see if he can manage that, and I will feedback and let you all know. But let's see if we've got any questions, you guys, then please do shout up. It's been a big help. Took lots of little notes here. Thank you for keeping us sane. I don't know about sane because I'm still a little bit crazy myself, but we'll try. Not sure if you're up for it, but I run a big Facebook group called the Therapist Hug. Would you like to go live in there talking about masquerade? Amazing, Jane, that would be phenomenal. Please do message me after this. Anybody that wants to message me that hasn't got my email address, I'm just going to pop it in the chat for you now. There we go. So I am here for you guys anytime. All I want you to do, if you feel overwhelmed by anything, you don't know what to do, you don't know how to optimize, prioritize, or you forgot what a SWOT analysis is, then please do message me. Okay, I'm in a lot better place than I was a couple of weeks ago because of other people and the fact that I'm doing what is helping me, and I want to help others. That's ultimately why I'm here this evening. So it would be super great to get in touch with any of you guys. If you've got anything you want to cover in particular in our weekly webinars, and please do let me know. But next week we're going to be focusing around stress and skin, because I'm sure it's affecting all of us. So for now, get yourself a little jade roller off Amazon if you want to, and we can have a little laugh with that next week. Grab yourself this book. Ultimately, I think they're all girls on here, so I'm safe to say it. Fantastic little book, matches the nails as well, not on purpose, but really nice little book to give it a go. There's my lip gloss that I put on before the webinar, if anybody wants to know. And again, here's the journal, which I'm going to lock away because this is here with all my Corona secrets in. And it will be a laugh in about 5 years' time when I get that back out and we're all laughing about this. But thank you so much for this evening. I'm going to try and obviously decipher if I'm still live and how I turn that off now. But thanks again, guys, and you have a lovely evening and enjoy your tea. Don't forget, if you've not been out yet, get outside for some fresh air. You will feel better for it. You take care, and I will see you hopefully next week, guys. Thank you very much. See you soon. Bye bye.